Hey guys, the Horror Man back with my review of A Quiet Place. I think the coast is clear for now, so I'm not gonna whisper. As I mentioned in my last Blu-ray update video, I picked up A Quiet Place the week it was released, and since then, I've watched it twice. A Quiet Place was a huge hit at the box office this year, so I'm pretty sure everybody already knows what it's about. It was directed by John Krasinski, who also stars as the father of a family living in a post-apocalyptic world. If you are a fan of The Office like I am, then you will best know John Krasinski as Jim Halpert. His real-life wife, Emily Blunt, also plays his wife in this film. A Quiet Place clocks in at just under 90 minutes, and the pacing is quite good. In the opening scene, we are introduced to the family, who is scavenging through an abandoned store, looking for medication for one of their sons who is ill. It is evident by their movements and lack of verbal conversation that they must be quiet by any means necessary. In fact, the only way they communicate is through sign language. It just so happens that the entire family is already fluent in sign language because the daughter of the family is deaf. You truly don't imagine how quiet this film actually is. I mean, it almost drives you crazy as a viewer. You start questioning things like, would you be able to be as quiet as this family? And then, something happens in the first few minutes that makes you realize you'd have to. You have no choice. You must be quiet. There are definite consequences if you're not. You witness the results of being heard, and this family is never the same. There is an immediate time jump after the opening scene, and almost a year has passed. We watch as the family struggles to survive in a world where creatures with ultra-sensitive hearing have killed off pretty much all other signs of life. The family has a strict routine so they can be safe, not making a single sound. As a viewer, you're tempted to turn up the volume on your TV, but it won't do you any good because there's nothing to be heard. But believe me when I say, there is nothing boring about it. I've heard others refer to it as a slow burn, but I wouldn't even consider it to be slow. It's actually pretty fast-paced, as I mentioned earlier. The short runtime definitely contributes to that, but you're also always waiting for something to happen, because the slightest sound can result in extreme danger. And we continue to see these consequences time and time again. It's actually quite difficult to give more of a synopsis of this film without giving too much away, and I do not want to spoil anything. Overall, A Quiet Place is not just about surviving, but it's mostly about family. With that being said, it is most definitely a horror film, and you get to see 6, 7 deaths depending on how you look at it. And as far as body counts go, that's pretty decent. And while the death scenes are quick, they're also gruesome in a way. The creatures are extremely fast, and fighting back won't work. All you can really do to protect yourself is shh. Now, I do want to mention that the entire movie is not completely silent. There is some music played, and although brief and few, there are some spoken lines. This movie really does fly by, and as I mentioned earlier, I've already watched it twice in the less than 2 weeks that I've owned it. I actually want to watch it again. It really affected me. I was talking about it with my buddy Nick, the last shoegazer. He watched it recently as well, and it also really affected him. There's a scene in this movie, which I won't spoil, but I will say that it is one of my all-time favorite heroic moments in cinema. It gave me actual chills the first time I watched it, and the second time around, it gave me chills again. I'm literally getting goosebumps now just thinking about it. I hope he doesn't mind me saying this, and I don't think he will because he mentioned it himself in one of his own videos, but Nick, the last shoegazer, was actually brought to tears when he watched the scene. And I know I've already said this, but it's worth repeating. It is one of my all-time favorite heroic movie moments ever. Again, I really wish I could say more, but I don't want to spoil anything. I went into this movie with high expectations because there was a lot of hype surrounding it, and I have to say, they were absolutely exceeded. Before I conclude, I do have to give just a bit of a rant. I've read other reviews of this film, with some people saying that they found it to be slow, boring, they didn't like the creature effects, and let me tell you something. I don't get it. I know I'm not an expert by any means, and I know everybody is entitled to their own opinion, but there are some cases where you just don't understand. I mean, I don't know what more people could have wanted from this movie. It had everything. I mean, it was fast-paced, as I mentioned earlier. It had a great cast with great acting. I thought John Krasinski was fantastic. I thought Emily Blunt was fantastic. I thought the actors playing the kids were fantastic. The setting was great. The creature effects were actually pretty good. I mean, I'm not a big CGI fan, but as far as CGI creatures go, they looked good. I just don't get it sometimes. I don't know what people want. They're just never satisfied. I've also seen some people mention that they didn't like the ending, which to me is sort of blasphemy. Because if you really pay attention, the ending is multi-layered. There is so much more to it than meets the eye. I will just never understand the negativity. Well, I think I made it pretty clear that I really enjoyed A Quiet Place, and I highly recommend it. Comment below, let me know if you've seen it, and let me know your thoughts. And don't forget, shh, they can hear you. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it.